The UFC spent years waiting for Conor McGregor to return. And when I say the UFC, I mean the UFC as a company and fans as well. Fans spent millions on tickets. The gate set a UFC record at 26.4 million. The arena was sold out with more than 20,000 fans. Yet the main event ended in just 69 seconds. Absolutely ridiculous. And Conor McGregor is facing a lot of backlash with this outcome. We have a lot of updates with Conor McGregor's leg injury. He has confirmed that he's indeed going to need surgery. Several more details have been put out, and I feel like this whole situation has the MMA community split. There are a bunch of people saying Conor McGregor was injured before the fight and all these receipts are out there. There's a bunch of other people saying everyone is delusional, it was a freak injury. And then there's some people actually saying Conor McGregor faked the injury. But one thing's for sure, there are some weird and very suspicious details that involve the UFC, Dana White, and some reporters. And the suspicious behavior that we're gonna break down later in the video makes you think, was everything planned? Let's break it down.
This fight, he went out there like the bull, not the matador. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know whose game plan this was to open the fight with the flying side kick or a roundhouse kick, whatever he threw. Crazy to me the way the fight started and ended. You knew you were injured. I doubt you would throw a jumping side kick. If that was the scenario and he knew he was injured and he just said, it's either me or him the first minute, somebody's going to fall and just go out there. And wouldn't you do it with punches? Why would you do it with an injured weapon? If he wanted a built-in excuse, a storyline that's already wrote itself and he can blame it on his leg, do something dumb. I don't know if he's that type of guy. Just don't think he's a quitter like that. I don't know if that's possible with him. I'll say a lot of bad stuff about him, but a quitter, I'm not sure. The guy's got money. It wasn't like he was showing up for a paycheck. I really don't understand what went on. You don't open a fight with a flying kick as part of a game plan. I think that was just heat of the moment, adrenaline, nerves. He's not the same Conor who might have been able to pull this off in previous fights. He's almost 40 years old. He's been out for 5 years. I think that got the best of him and he just made a bad decision to throw this kick. It's just a crazy scenario. I don't know if we're ever going to know the truth to this, but something's weird about it.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot of debates going on now with the fallout of Conor McGregor having the most disappointing UFC return in the whole combat sports history, honestly speaking. And a lot of people are piling on Conor McGregor, and we're going to get into that later in the video. A lot of people are saying a lot of things. That's the number one question. Why did Conor McGregor go out there and start this fight this way? That was one of the major questions that a lot of people are pointing out. But at the same time, I feel like people are forgetting that that's exactly how Conor McGregor starts every single one of his fights.
I think we need to be careful when we judge, because there have been times where people have done crazy things to start fights and they've worked, and we praise the athlete as if they're some genius. Tonight was one of those times that it didn't work. I remember Fabricio Verdum just running across the octagon and super kicking Travis Brown like he was on the game Double Dragon. Clearly, George Masvidal did it to Ben Askren, and we all praised him for that. I think we need to be careful when we have a big opinion on something that happens, because sure, everybody's mad. It went sideways, but had Conor landed that, everybody would praise him for what he did.
DC saying some things that are actually true. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It was a stupid mistake in my opinion. Conor being the age that he is, coming back 5 years, you can't start the fight the way you normally start, especially in that wild manner. But it is facts that if Conor landed that kick, a lot of people will be glazing and praising Conor McGregor. That's not how it turned out. I mean, take a look at this quick compilation here. This is the beginning of a lot of Conor McGregor's fights, right? He always tries to throw like a spinning kick, a up kick, a high kick. That's always how he starts his fight. It's always how it's done, right? By the way, go ahead and hit that like button, help out a small channel real quick. So the next question that makes sense is, if this is something Conor always does, how come this time it didn't go well?
Being heavier is physics. You know, it's like this, and then I don't know, I gave another theory right there about the fact that he broke the other leg and had to hop around on this one forever.
Yep.
So
Overcompensating.
you're going to wear out some parts of the knee somehow, and then when you attempt a high amplitude maneuver, you can break something.
So you think, for the record, he does come back, and you would like to see him come back?
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? A fun matchup for something. Let's see him. I think maybe he overtrains or something. He's 38. He's got to recognize that and give himself like rest days or better rest. I don't know. I'm not in his camp. I've talked with a lot of people in his camp, but they don't reveal how the sausage is made.
Sure.
He's got his own methodology. But I would think that, yeah, he definitely got to realign his chakras, because it's like, you can't try this crazy maneuver at 38. It's better that you just come out in a southpaw and dance around, for the bit. I think it would be better for him to kind of push forward on Max so that Max can't really get weapons. But
so unrealistic expecting Conor McGregor to come off after not fighting for 5 years, all the drugs, all the steroids, all the banned substances, all the alcohol, everything except training. I feel like he only started preparing for this fight maybe this year. It's just unrealistic to come back and act like you're still in your prime. And that's what the UFC tried to sell us. And unfortunately, a lot of fans bought that. But of course, we can't keep talking about this whole thing without listening to Michael Chandler and hearing his insight in the whole thing. This guy is so shameless. Somehow, some way, this man finds his way to insert himself and make himself somehow a character in this whole situation.
Everybody's trying to figure out, hey, was Conor injured prior to the fight? You can say what you want about Conor. The thing he is not is a bamboozler. Because I've had a lot of people say, man, why would Conor do that? He came out like an idiot, jumped across the cage and threw a kick. Conor always does that. When I was training to fight him, I was expecting within the first 5 minutes some kind of spinning wheel kick, some type of flying knee, some type of flying Superman punch. He did the Superman punch against Cowboy Cerrone within the first 5 seconds. To those who say, why would he do that? Well, he did it because he always does that. I believe he wants to fight me. I believe he tried to fight me. I believe he wanted to fight me. I believe that's how the negotiations went. When it comes to the confines of competition, the dude would not just show up to take a paycheck. He pulled out of the fight with me. It was a broken pinky toe. You're telling me that he would pull out of a fight because of a broken pinky toe, but he wouldn't pull out of a fight with a very severely compromised leg? Just not buying it.
What the hell is Michael Chandler talking about? I feel like Conor wanted to fight me. Obviously, if Conor McGregor still wanted to fight Michael Chandler, that's the fight that would have happened, right? But somehow, some way, Michael Chandler is finding his way to insert himself. This man is still delusional, thinking that fight is still going to happen. But to be fair, I think it's actually more realistic that might be the next fight rather than a trilogy with Max Holloway. And one thing I really disagree with Michael Chandler, I'm not saying that I'm in the camp of believing that Conor McGregor was injured before the fight. A lot of things you can point to say that, but it's not concrete, right? It's not 100%. But if Conor McGregor was injured, I could definitely see a scenario where he would hide it, right? There is literally a clip of Conor McGregor walking into a building where they treat these type of injuries, right? So there's a lot of things to point to. Of course, he would hide it. He wouldn't want to pull out 2 fights in a row. That's just ending his career, honestly speaking. So I don't agree with that at all. Although Michael Chandler is being delusional, I actually agree that Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is more realistic than Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway.
A fight with Max, again, after 5-year layoff, you're fighting at the top, like the fucking top of the heap. You're fighting one of the best to do it. That's a hard fight to come back against. I say, I mean, if he does decide to come back later on, Chandler would be the only fight that makes sense, because he kind of owes Chandler that fight. He honey-dicked him for like 2-3 years while Chandler was waiting for the big money fight. So now, after the Ultimate Fighter, after all those time, it'd be good for them to kind of settle the score, because they even have a little bit of, not beef, but they got some heat there. There's some heat there. So that'd be the fight I think you should come back to.
I pretty much agree with Izzy. Me personally speaking, I'm not interested. I'm not gonna lie, ever since Conor McGregor lost his second fight to Dustin Poirier, I've really not been interested in seeing Conor fight. Yes, I fall for the hype. It gets exciting. Conor is still the biggest star in the UFC, but I've never been like, oh my God, when is Conor coming back to fight? Ever since Dustin Poirier knocked him out in their rematch, I just knew Conor was done, honestly speaking. But now he goes on to snap his leg in the third fight against Poirier. Now blows out his knee, might be a meniscus tear in his fight against Holloway. 2 compromised legs. We're talking about some type of trilogy. So for sure, I think Conor will fight one more time. He wants to fight out his contract. Again, we're going to get into that later in the video. But not interested in seeing Conor fight, if I'm being honest.
Definitely, he looked bloated. I thought his face looked a little shiny under his eyes, looked a little full. His cheeks looked full. Could be because he's been living an unhealthy lifestyle. I don't feel like 15 pounds would make your face that bloated. I don't know what's going on. His body looked fit. His face looked unhealthy. When you don't live the healthiest lifestyle, your body's more susceptible to injuries. It weakens everything when you live an unhealthy lifestyle. The shiny, swollen face could have been telling us the whole time this guy's coming into this not at 100%. That he looks in the mirror and asks himself, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? How many times can you do this before people start moving on? He's addicted to the limelight, addicted to people talking about him. He's addicted to being in headlines. I don't know if he's addicted to the fight itself anymore. If it's a torn ACL, that's another year. At his age, I think he's done. He's done. He'll never come back the same. But how many times can you cry wolf? We're not flying across the world to watch you fight. We know what we get with you. With the record-breaking career he's had, I would just hate to see him be a freak show fighter like that and only come out for these exhibitions. That's not real fighting to me. I hope he stays on the track in his normal day-to-day life, man.
I mean, Dustin Poirier speaking facts, man. Of course, there's a rivalry. These guys don't like each other. Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier hate each other, but he's not saying anything that is off right here. The lifestyle of Conor McGregor never added up with someone who was planning on returning to the octagon, and unfortunately it showed in the worst way. Now, earlier I talked about how this whole thing has split the MMA community into 3 sections. A bunch of people saying there's a conspiracy theory of Conor being injured before the fight, the UFC knowing about it but going ahead. Other people saying nah, it was a freak injury. But I feel like the extreme end of people having a stance are the people saying Conor McGregor, he quit, he never wanted to fight, he injured himself on purpose. And I feel like Dean Thomas, Jorge Masvidal, and Dustin Poirier pretty much summarize that part of the MMA community. There's a lot of crazy things they're gonna say in this clip I'm about to play that I don't agree with, but there's also a lot that I do agree with. Let's go ahead and listen to what they say first.
Yeah.
But in this one, he was, to me, as soon as he tore it, he dropped down, gets up, stumbles around, then he starts looking at the ref like, I can't do this no more. But think of like all the other greats. Listen,
it lets him know it's not the spirit that he had in the past.
That's what I'm saying.
In the past, he fought through it.
The spirit in the past, he fought through it.
I mean, yeah, and the spirit in the past, he fought through it, had a similar injury in his first fight against Max Holloway, but I feel like the MMA community is creating this toxic environment where we're encouraging fighters to fight through injuries. That's horrendous. I don't agree with that at all. Look at Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Alberg. I respect Alberg, rightfully the champion, fought through an injury. He blew out his knee and beat Yuri. But people need to sit down, humble themselves, and realize that was like a one-off. That's not a normal thing to do, and that's not an expectation we should have. Just like expecting Thomas Aspinall to keep fighting when he had 2 fingers deep into his eyeballs. Ridiculous. Masvidal talking about, yeah, he's done it in the past. Yeah, the man is past his prime. You can't expect him to, the same way you can't expect him to start the fight with that type of ridiculous kick, you can't expect him to fight through injuries.
He's saying, making this up. This is him. This is what he told us. He told us he was going to have the greatest comeback. He told us he didn't go nowhere. He said these things, but when it got tough, he tore his leg. He wanted out. He wanted out.
Good way to see it.
I mean, what are you going to do? You're saying
what are you
because
gonna do?
He literally fought against the same guy through that the first time. So Dean does have a good point.
What did Carlos Alberg do?
Okay, all right.
What did Thiago Santos do? He tore both of his knees against John Jones. He fought through it. He didn't look for where he fought through it.
Official tears, because he put
Official
them pictures
tears.
up.
I could, but this is a little bit different only because it happened on the first move of the fight. The adrenaline isn't going as much. Like the fight isn't taking place. Like the first time with Max Holloway, he was trying to pass guard in like the second round, then it knee popped. The juices are still flowing. You're in the fight. He's winning the fight at that point, so he pushes through. Carlos Oldberg, that's a very close parallel to
Won the light heavyweight world championship with the torn ACL. You know, he found the shot.
It's no joke. Jiri's a fucking problem.
Yeah, does Conor not pushing forward and just trying to stay in the fight? Does that,
that's my point. He didn't.
That's where his mindset was.
I mean, like I said, I understand what you're trying to say, but I feel like that's an unfair comparison. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Conor McGregor, but you got to be objective. You can't compare Conor to Oldberg. Of course, Oldberg pushed through, right? Oldberg has not seen half the career that Conor McGregor has seen. Conor has way more wear and tear, right? He hasn't fought in 5 years. He's way older. So I think that's a horrendous take, expecting him to push through a torn ACL if that's what really happened, right? He needs surgery, right? He's confirmed that he needs surgery. So we can imagine it's a bad injury. And this is one of the religious posts that Conor McGregor made on Instagram. I mean, ever since this happened, he's been talking about God and how he's a child of God. But I feel like this post says a lot. Right here, this is where he talked about him needing surgery. Surgery, prehab, return to martial arts, practice, go again, final fight of the contract, please God. Pay attention to what he's saying here. I think it's pretty obvious that Conor McGregor is trying to fight out his contracts. That's his main focus, right? Yes, he feels bad about what happened. The man was crying on Bruce Buffer's shoulder, but the main thing he's concerned is having that last fight and finally getting out of his UFC contract. But I feel like there's some type of plan for Dana White somehow trying to set up a fight between Conor McGregor and Mayweather too. Dana White has talked about helping Mayweather with his financial issues that he's going through.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. losing like $170 million. Just your opinion on that?
Who knows? Anything is possible. Maybe we could do something and figure it out for him.
And in the post-fight conference, after Conor ended the fight in 69 seconds by blowing out his knee, Dana White wasn't even mad. I mean, the man was all smiles, right? You can't compare the way he reacted to that to the way he reacted to Tom Aspinall, although it seems like he just didn't believe Tom Aspinall with his eye poke, but he believed Conor McGregor had a freak injury. But look at this weird thing here. Two MMA journalists, I say journalists with quotation marks, they literally put out the same tweet at the same time. This is what they said: my call, Mayweather McGregor to Zuffa Boxing 2027. They literally put out this tweet at the same time. And that is absolutely weird. To me, that says someone gave them the memo. And this is the beginning of them putting that idea in people's head. Even though I feel like it's absolutely ridiculous. When the upper heads have sent out what their plan is, this is what the beginning stages of that propaganda looks like.
If you know that your leg is compromised, everyone knows you had leg injuries. The guy we're talking to right now, the great Dustin Poirier, he's the last guy he had a leg injury with. And why would you throw punches? If you want to be able to have a reason to get it over with, you would do it with something that people would buy, that people would say, well, Jesus, his legs were hurt again. His legs have been hurt in the past. You know, his legs were part of the reason why he was gone originally, where he had to recover from it after the Dustin Poirier, the last one with Dustin Poirier. You know, so, yeah, if we're thinking normally, we'd say, yeah, you should be closing the gap slowly with your legs under you, behind the jab. You should make sure that you got a good base, all that. But again, if you know that you're on borrowed time and you want to be able to get it over with, and you know that you went in there compromised, what better way to have the excuse of I can't continue than the leg? I mean, if you wanted to go down that path.
Did you watch McGregor?
Yes.
What did you think?
Sucks. Like, yeah, that's it. Sucks. Like, sucks. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
All kinds of theories.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what do you think? Do you think he was hurt before, based on what you saw?
I don't know. If like, it's very easy to get sucked in. Like I said, I'm a man of Reddit.
Did you go on Reddit?
The amount of like paranoid rabbit holes that are there, it's just crazy. And don't get me wrong, I'm for it. I go into all of them, but I'm thinking, so if he was injured prior to the fight, would he have done that kick?
Right.
Like, I know I've gone into fights with LCL tears and MCL tears, and brother, I'm not jumping switch kicking if I've got one.
Right.
Okay? Unless he knew and he needed a way to get out.
Okay, so you're fully into Reddit right now. This is Reddit mode right here.
Hold
I like
on.
it. I like it. Okay.
Or maybe it was just a freak accident. You know what I mean?
By an almost 38-year-old who's been off for 5 years,
Yeah, that's
who's done
it.
some damage to his body.
And like, the game it's not one of those games you can just take off time and come back. Like, you need that contact constantly. Your body's primed and ready. That's why, even though it took me a year to come back to the cage, I was training the whole time, working my way into light heavyweight. I wasn't just doing nothing, because you need your body ready and hard to get used to the stress that you put it under. Because, he may have trained that kick a million times throughout the camp, but with the nerves, the adrenaline, maybe he jumps a little bit too far, maybe he jumps a little bit too high, maybe, there's so many what ifs and whatnot. But I feel for the guy everything that could go wrong did, and I hope he comes out of it the other end.
I mean, realistically speaking, I feel like all the theories have some reasonable evidence to point to. I feel like people who are dismissing Conor potentially being injured before the fight are ridiculous, and honestly speaking, maybe Conor glazers. But at the same time, all the receipts and the evidence pointing towards that theory are not concrete. And I don't feel like people should be taking that as, 100% he was injured. Duh. A lot of things could be seen as him being nervous after 5 years, although I find that hard to believe. But still, I think the plausible and most realistic theory is the fact that this was just a freak injury. When you watch that transition, the kick was too high and Holloway was able to keep his distance, and the way he threw it was just wrong. He practiced it so many times. That's a kick he does a lot, but the way he took off from the octagon and the way he landed was horrendous, and I feel like it was a freak injury. But I also feel like it's a legit statement to say that, hey, I feel like Conor knew he had some type of injury, and maybe the UFC knew about it and somehow they sold wolf tickets. It really doesn't matter if they knew or not, but that's what ended up happening. I feel like fans deserve a refund, honestly speaking. And do you think Conor McGregor would want to pull out of a fight again? I don't think so. So I don't feel like this is something that people can just easily dismiss. One thing is for sure and undeniable, Conor McGregor's stock has massively dropped.
It's been pretty clear to me for some time now that the Mystic Mac thing is done. But I think Saturday was the funeral. The idea that you can just conjure up the kind of performances that create real-time magic, that is finished. And I know it's been finished for a while, but now there is simply no coming back to that. He is now just a 38-year-old fighter who is broken, old, enfeebled. He may win again, and he may have some big fights again, but the Conor McGregor that we have in our heads, in terms of the fighter at least, is fucking finished, bro. Over and done, never to return. I actually think this might be the biggest backfire in MMA history. UFC doesn't want to sign Conor again. I guarantee that they have no desire to deal with him after this deal, and more to the point, Conor wants out because he wants to go to Netflix and make a bunch of money people suggesting that like, oh, they would never want to get rid of their biggest star. Look at this fucking guy. When he's not competing, he is having a hard time staying out of handcuffs. And when he does compete, he can barely be ambulatory because he is constantly getting injured. Dude, the show is fucking over. And UFC has to know that. And they don't want to pay him a bunch of money. What I do think is true is they're going to make him walk over fucking broken glass to get out of there. Conor's still going to be a big star. But I want to say this. The fact that the Irish didn't travel for him this time, it changed how everybody viewed him. Like, dude, even Max after the fight was like, hey, let's give it up for Conor. And it was like,
yeah, I know. I noticed that.
Hey guys, let's give it up for Conor McGregor, guys. What an absolute animal. You guys are lucky because they're going to be a Holloway versus McGregor 3 now.
I also want to say this, Chuck. Hamzat loses. Poatan gets stopped. Ilya gets stopped. Conor gets stopped. Islam is next month. If I'm Islam, I'm like, okay, wait a second.
Serious thing that requires surgery. Do you think we ever see Conor McGregor fight in the UFC again?
No, but if you were to take that away, and if we were to say, boy, we got lucky. In fact, a step further, the referee misdiagnosed this. He's completely fine. We don't see him fight again, no. For the example that I put out earlier, you cannot main event him. You cannot repackage and sell this story, nor would they be interested. Chuck Liddell was very close friends with Dana White. Brock Lesnar just wanted to do it again. Anderson Silva saying, hey, put me in one more time. Dana does not give back on that. I realize the story gets told that he runs the evil empire and all he cares about is money. That just isn't true. If Dana takes a look at Conor and thinks you could get hurt or you don't belong here or you're taking somebody else's spot, no. And again, if Conor wanted to be one of the guys on the card, BJ Penn started opening cards. BJ Penn was third from the top in his final fight. I mean, he not only wasn't on the main, not only wasn't main event, he wasn't main card. He wasn't the prelim main event. He wasn't on the prelim. He was on the early. And I'm just sharing, if you're using the word if, but I don't think that's real. You and I don't believe Conor's going to jerk the curtain. We don't believe he really wants to go out there and punch and kick with a man in a cage. Come on.
Yeah, man. Conor McGregor getting a lot of backlash, in my opinion. His stock has definitely dropped. I don't think he'll be able to recover from this. I don't think anybody's interested in seeing Conor again. But he still has one more fight, and I still feel like he is going to fight one more time in the UFC. Who he's gonna fight, that's where I really can't tell. But in my opinion, right now, I do lean towards the theory that this was a freak injury. Everything leads to it, honestly speaking. I don't see how that's far off. I feel like, yes, he practiced that kick so many times and he used the wrong technique. You can watch it and see that he used the wrong technique. It happens, right? When fighters don't fight for a while, like all the clips we've gone over, it affects their bodies, especially if you're not training, you're taking steroids to heal from injuries, your body getting used to not taking steroids, you get fragile. Add that to the amount of drugs that this man has done. I mean, the writing is on the wall, man. The writing is on the wall. Again, I did say it was unrealistic for Conor McGregor to come back and fight Max Holloway, but I didn't think it would end this way. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Conor McGregor was injured before the fight? More details are going to come out and I'll make more videos. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're new so you get more updates. All right. Do you think that Conor had a freak injury, or do you think this whole thing was fake? It was staged and the UFC pretty much scammed their fans? I mean, at the end of the day, that's not far off either. But please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one.